think for season 5, we need to get the Duffer Brothers to merge an 80s horror movie along with the show. Here's my pitch. Needful Stranger Things. I'm sorry, that was a bad joke. That was a dad joke. Don't run away. Don't turn the channel off. Stay with me. It's okay. It was just a joke. I had to go there. Yeah, so welcome back. This is my recap review of Stranger Things Season 4, Episode 3. And if you've been following me, a couple of things. One, you know I'm blind, so I can't talk to you necessarily about all of the crazy graphics. But I do get to talk about audio description. And two, I believe that since I'm breaking these up episodically, that if you haven't seen the previous episodes and I reference stuff that's already happened in episodes 1 and 2 and spoil them, that's on you, bro. Gotta tell you, that's on you. You clicked on 3. You should check out the review for the episode that you're on, because I consider it fair game to be able to talk about previous episodes. So, well, but I do appreciate you being here. So thank you. And there is punch and pie at the back of the room. If you would like to venture back there, we're going to talk about some of the things of strangeness that have happened. So R.I.P. Fred, right? That was, I guess at the end of episodes now, we're just going to rip some dude's body apart. Every episode, some teenager's going to get horrifically mutilated. Yeah, I know I was talking about him in my last episode review, and I was kind of like, I don't know where this kid came from. I'm sure he's been in other episodes, but he made such non-impact on me, and there was such a huge gap between seasons 3 and 4 that when Fred appeared all of a sudden and they gave him like a ton of screen time, I was like, who is this kid? Am I supposed to care? Has he always been here? Is he new to the season? Where did Fred come from? Like, I really don't remember. If he was in anything before season 4, I seriously do not remember who this kid was. And like, they're referencing this car accident, and I'm like, am I supposed to know this? Like, I don't know who he is. So yeah, I mean, I think he's like the definition of cannon fodder. It was like created to die. It's kind of like Chrissy, which is so terrible. I would hate for my life to die, to end like Chrissy and Fred's way. It just sounds terrible, you know. I'm sure it's gnarly to look at, but anyway. So, and this one obviously they found Fred, so now it's now they're even more concerned. Nancy is beside herself. The gang is still trying to protect Eddie, at least for the time being, while they investigate, because they've seen stranger things before. I'm sorry. I make jokes. So they know that what he's saying is entirely true. Like when he starts talking in last episode about seeing the girl floating in midair, they're like, "Yup, that tracks." So to other people, they'd be like, "You're weird," but to this group, they're like, "Yeah, and then what? And then okay, yeah." They're like, "Oh, yep, I've seen that before. Yep, okay, that feels like Hawkins, yeah." And but Jason and his angry mob of basketball players are out to try to get him in this episode. Still, they're trying to find him and hunt him down, they're going around. Man, these guys are relentless. I don't know. I don't know if I don't know how we're gonna pull Jason's character around, because they basically just assault some rando for information. I'm like, dude, you're just the high school basketball team. Calm down. Like, calm. You're not even her father. Like, if this was like Chrissy's father, I would be like more sympathetic toward the case, because I'd be like, oh, he's doing like a Liam Neeson and Taken thing, you know, where he's trying to get information. I was like, you're just her high school boyfriend, and you've like all of these basketball kids, they're all just following you into hell. Jesus. All right. Anyway, but and I guess over in California, we're learning that there are repercussions for doing the right thing, which is hitting that mean girl in the face with a skate, which was definitely the right call, because that girl was going to grow up to be a terrible person unless somebody actually stood up and said no. That's the problem with her, is that nobody's ever said no to her. They just keep saying yes. So she doesn't know what to do when somebody says no. Like when she got caught, and then she starts, you know, calling her a narc, and they do that whole thing based on, because, you know, supposedly Elle, you know, was the reason for her being ratted out or whatever. And this girl just cannot take a hint in life, and makes fun of, man, I mean, could you imagine if Elle did have her powers? Just, I literally thought this girl was going to be the catalyst. That's what I thought. I was like, this girl was created to bring Elle's powers back, to be so frustratingly bitchy that Elle's powers actually do come back, you know? But that's not where this episode goes. But I actually thought we were going to keep going with this character, and that she was just going to keep relentlessly pursuing Elle for the rest, until Elle got her powers back, and then just, like, I don't know, ripped her head off or something. Like, telekinetically. I don't really have sympathy for bullies in films at all. So I'm just like, yeah, okay, cool, whatever. You know, even if they're kids, I'm just like, violence toward a bully, fine, cool. You know, when O'Doyle ruled himself right off the cliff and Billy Madison, I was like, yep, bye. Anyway, so yeah, there's some different stuff that happens with Elle's storyline. I don't know what's going to happen with the rest of the people in California, but I don't know where the season's going with that, but we'll find out in episode 4. This episode is very much what I would call a chess piece episode. I think that's a term I'm coining, because I've used it a couple times on other things. But it's just moving pieces around on a board. It's not, there are no attacks being made. It's just all strategy. It's, okay, so I need to get this piece there so that I can do this later, you know? And then you're moving a couple things around in a couple of turns so that you're setting it up, and the other person doesn't even know you're setting it up for an attack, right? So this is a couple of the pieces on the board needed to be in certain positions for what's coming down the road. So this episode didn't really give us anything new. It didn't like murder half of Hawkins. It didn't do anything totally nuts, because what it's trying to do is just get the pieces on the board where they need to be. And that's fine, but it also ended up becoming my least favorite episode of the season so far. But not that it was a bad episode. It just was, I mean, how do you come back from the other 2 episodes and then just sort of coast? You know, the best way to describe it is coasting. I don't feel like our group gained new knowledge that was useful to them stopping. One of the things I was concerned about was the fact that if this thing, which seems to indiscriminately choose its prey at this point, going from, Chrissy to Fred, we don't know how it chose them. If it ends up choosing one of our gang, they have no way to fight it. They have nothing. They know nothing. They don't have a plan. So whoever that would be could potentially die, and that is upsetting to me. So Max makes the most headway here in she has sort of like an idea, little thought bubble that gets her probably the most amount of information that they have so far to answer that question as to why these people, how do we predict this, is there anything we can do to stop this type of thing. And then the episode closes off with a humdinger of an ending, to make you, I guess, excited for the next episode and to get you to keep watching. So one of those like, oh my God, what? That's what I was doing for the last, like, I was like, don't you do it. Don't you do it, Stranger Things. Like, I was getting angry. If my TV was a person, it would be so confused all the time. Like, if it had a personality, if it was sentient, it would be like, why are you mad at me? I'm just showing you what you wanted. You asked to watch this, and now you're yelling at me? But, yeah. So, I like the season. It's a fun season. This will be forever known as the season in which kids stopped watching, parents stopped watching Stranger Things with their little kids. I don't know that this was ever really a show for little kids anyway, but, I guess people were like, ooh, this is like the Goonies for a new generation. And it's like, I guess, I mean, I think the Goonies was less horrifying than this, but maybe it's an introduction to horror for like preteens. I don't know. I don't know that if I had a kid and they were 8 and they were like, ooh, can we watch Stranger Things? I think I'd be like, no. No, you can't. Sorry, you need to be older. If I had like a 13 or 12 or 13-year-old and they wanted to watch Stranger Things, the first season, I would be like, all right, well, you can try it out and see what it's like and go from there. But, this season I'd probably be like, to a 12-year-old, I'd probably be like, no, nope. I'm gonna call an audible on this one. And you don't get to watch season 4. Sorry. But that's yeah. The season's nuts. Anyway, thanks for joining me on this journey. As far as the audio description goes, I've already sort of brought this up with the ear that I keep to the ground to the to the audio description narrators out there in the world that put this out into the world. This episode has a little bit of sound, at least currently, as of my posting, has some sound issues where it sounds like the sound in a couple places is patched in, almost like it was re-recorded or something. It just sounds completely different than the rest of the audio description track. And I know a lot of people have theories as to why that is and why it is the way that it is. But to me, it originally sounded like a sound mixing issue. Like they went back in and spliced in dialogue, had somebody reread something and patched it over on top of the original. I'm aware that the product that they completed sounds seamless, but the product that's on Netflix does not. So they're trying to figure out why that is the way that it is and get that fixed. So it's possible that at some point this note will be pointless. Hopefully soon they will be able to correct the issue with the audio description. However, most people don't care about audio description. So the likelihood somebody will come back around and fix it, I don't know that it's going to be a rush job, I don't know that Ted Sarandos is like, oh, we got to get to this, this high priority. But who knows? Could take him a day, could take him a month, who knows, right? So it's a valid thing. I'm just going to tell you in advance. There's just a couple times where the sound, you'll hear it. It just sounds completely different. And I've heard stuff like that before, where it just sounds re-recorded, even in real films. As I mentioned to some other people when I was talking about this phenomenon, this is one of the things that notoriously everybody pointed out about Holmes and Watson, was how badly it was done for that film. When they re-recorded the dialogue, they added dialogue back in, but they didn't mix it with the background noise. So every time somebody did dialogue, it cut the rest of the sound out. So there were a couple times when they patched in dialogue in Holmes and Watson, the much maligned Will Ferrell, John C. Reilly movie, that somebody says something and it's like in the middle of a scene, right? Where normally there would be like other things happening in the background and other background dialogue and noise. But then the patched in dialogue has none of that. So it just kind of like everything stops and something is just put in and then they move on. And that's kind of what this feels like. It's jarring enough that I noticed it. So maybe you won't, or maybe your audio is different. It's entirely possible that your audio setup, depending on how you listen, you may not hear it. So, but I heard it, and in case some other people heard it and just wanted to talk about it and say why it's there and the fact that it's going to be fixed, hopefully soon. So there you go. Otherwise, I love Tandy Alexander and the team that is doing the Stranger Things stuff. They've been doing a good job of, they definitely have some complicated stuff they have to describe with these monsters and creatures and the tentacles. And I love how they used umbilical cords to describe this one monster, It's such a specific thing. You could just leave it at tentacles, but when you try to also add umbilical cords to it, it adds sort of a different visual to, instead of tentacle. So I'm gonna give Stranger Things season 4 episode 3 an A-. It just, it slowed down a little bit for me. Not that honestly, it was probably the best thing that I watched that day anyway, but it's just not on the same level as the first 2 episodes, because it's just moving things around. I understand what it's trying to do. I'm not saying, in the grand scheme of things, the season's probably still going to be an A-grade season. It's just, this is the one episode where everything slows down so that they can move people to where they need to be for future episodes. And I guess they weren't able to do that in a way that would also keep the action at the same fever pitch as previous episodes, although the ending is kind of interesting. It's not the same as an ending with the past 2 episodes, but it is interesting. So I'll give them that, and we'll talk more about that when it's not a spoiler, when I get the next episode out, which will be shortly. But I am going to jump into The Boys next. So the next time you see me recap something, it's going to be The Boys season premiere. I'm trying to recap the shows that I feel like people are watching. So there you go. And thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments about Stranger Things, and don't forget to like and subscribe. MacTheMovieGuy.com for more reviews. The audio description project tells you what's got audio description and where to find it. And the adna.org will let you know who describes what, or what other narrators have done things before, what other writers have done things before. Just whoever's listed, it is user built, so it's not industry supported, so it doesn't necessarily have every little bit of information ever, but it is constantly growing. So anything you guys can ever add to that, any knowledge you've ever got, it's always welcome, to help grow the ADNA so that people can have access to the information of, hey, who's that voice? And get answers to that question. And maybe you heard it before in something else and you're not really sure what, and you can go on there and you can click and be like, oh, that's why, because I watched that TV series and they're doing this one too. Oh, it's the same voice. Cool. Anyway, so until more things that are strange happen, that's it for now. So thanks.